The Trump administration controversially announces that illegal aliens removed under the Alien Enemies Act are in the sole custody of El Salvador. The US and China shadowbox over tariffs, export bans, and negotiations, and Bernie Sanders speaks at Coachella. I'm Tony Kinnett from the Daily Signal's Tony Kinnett Cast, syndicated nationally at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is Monday, April 14th, 2025. This is the Daily Signal's top news in 10. After the Supreme Court of the United States ruled that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who under an order by Judge Paula Zinnes was to be returned to the United States, the Supreme Court ruled that the United States did not have to bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was suspected of being a member of MS-13 in several court cases over the last couple of years, and was mistakenly deported early to El Salvador, where Garcia was also wanted for a separate list of capital crimes in the Central American nation. The Supreme Court ruled that Garcia, while he didn't have to be returned to the United States, was supposed to be given a trial facilitated by the United States to determine whether or not he was guilty of being a member of MS-13, in addition to his crimes of evading Border Patrol security and, of course, being an illegal immigrant in the United States. After that ruling, Judge Zinnes asserted that the Trump administration needed to provide a series of updates on the location and the well-being of Garcia. An administration senior bureau official, Michael Kozak, over the weekend responded to Judge Zinnes, quote, "It is my understanding, based on official reporting from our embassy in San Salvador, that Garcia is currently being held in the Terrorism Confinement Center in El Salvador. He is alive and secure in that facility. He is detained pursuant to the sovereign domestic authority of El Salvador." President Bukele of El Salvador did fly to the United States to meet with President Trump over the weekend, and President Trump released a Truth Social post before the meetings were set to begin later today. He posted on Saturday, "Looking forward to seeing President Bukele of El Salvador on Monday. Our nations are working closely together to eradicate terrorist organizations and build a future of prosperity. President Bukele has graciously accepted into his nation's custody some of the most violent alien enemies of the world, and in particular, the United States. These barbarians are now in the sole custody of El Salvador, a proud and sovereign nation, and their future is up to President Bukele and his government. They will never threaten or menace our citizens again." Many on the political left criticized the actions of the President of the United States for suggesting that individuals could be removed from this country and then placed into the custody of another country. They likened it to Julius Caesar washing his hands of an affair. Representative Sarah McBride, formerly Tim McBride of Delaware, released a statement condemning the President of the United States and suggested that one didn't have to choose between securing the border and not, deporting individuals that he claims are innocent. Check it out.
Don't let people tell you we have to choose between securing our borders and upholding the rule of law. Don't let anyone tell you the way we keep people safe is by dismantling due process. The Trump administration's tactic right now is to overwhelm us with information with the sole purpose of distracting, demeaning, and dividing us. This administration is invoking a 227-year-old law to speed up mass deportations, stripping people of due process. This law, known as the Alien Enemies Act, was created in 1798 with the purpose of expanding the president's power to deport non-citizens from the United States during times of war. During times of war. They are detaining and deporting people with no due process or regard for legal residency in this country, all under the guise that we are at war right now. This is not the rule of law that MAGA Republicans claim to care so much about. This is a harmful and indiscriminate application of an old law that strips real people of their civil liberties and the opportunity to chase life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The reason due process exists is to both hold people who break the law accountable, but also to guarantee that innocent people don't get unfairly punished. The only way to protect a U.S. citizen from being wrongly rounded up and shipped to a dangerous foreign prison is to have a process to guarantee that you aren't deporting a U.S. citizen.
The trade war between the United States and China is heating up quickly. There's a lot of details flying around, especially over the weekend, so we're going to get you as up to date as we can. China has suspended exports of a wide range of critical minerals and magnets, threatening to choke off supplies of components central to automakers, aerospace manufacturers, semiconductor companies, and military contractors around the world. China's ban of these particular shipments to the United States, including these magnets, essential for assembling everything from cars and drones to robots and missiles, have been halted at many Chinese ports, while the CCP government drafts a new regulatory system, or at least so the government of China says. Once in place, the new system could permanently prevent supplies from reaching certain companies, including American military contractors like Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Palantir. The official crackdown is part of China's retaliation for President Trump's increase in tariffs that started on April the 2nd, and China not gaining additional leverage as the United States increased tariffs to China's retaliatory tariffs. China has released rather discordant statements with this new policy. However, over the weekend before Sunday afternoon, the Chinese government called for the United States to drop all tariffs of any kind, and then suggested that the White House had been declining calls from the Chinese government to speak with the president, whereas the White House asserts that China has not reached out to the United States to begin negotiations to lower the tariffs and rewrite trade policy between the two countries. To make matters a little bit more confusing, perhaps haywire even, the Trump administration has temporarily lifted the tariffs on some electronics goods and export manufacturing from China. So these would include cell phones, computers, certain electronic components. There's a lot of things up in the air, and I hope that we'll be able to provide you a little bit more clarity on this particular series of negotiations in this trade war between the United States and China later tonight on the Tony Kinnett Cast. U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer spoke on CBS News' Face the Nation yesterday, and he said that right now, Trump and Xi do not have any plans to speak amid this tariff standoff.
Is the Trump administration opening any kind of channel to Beijing right now? Are there any plans for Presidents Trump and Xi to speak?
Right now, we don't have any plans on that. This issue is truly at the leaders' level. Before April 2nd, I had a conversation with my counterpart, and others did. Since April 2nd, we have this at the leaders' level, and at some point, as President Trump has pointed out, we expect that we'll be able to have a conversation with them.
Regarding the rest of the world, Ambassador Greer stated, quote, "My goal is to get meaningful deals before 90 days, and he thinks that we're going to be there with several countries in the next couple of weeks."
I'm considering that we have 90 days. Before April 2nd, we were already having many talks with other countries because everyone knew tariffs were coming. This was not some secret. Everyone knew. And so we already were in conversations with several countries. It's going to be up to these countries to come to the table, continue coming to the table, and make these kinds of offers. The reality is we're working around the clock, day and night, sharing paper, receiving offers, and giving feedback to these countries with respect to how they can better achieve reciprocal trade with the United States.
But 90 days could be a rolling deadline, is what I hear you saying.
Well, I would not say that. In the president's cabinet meeting last week, he was asked about this, and he said, well, we'll see. My goal is to get meaningful deals before 90 days, and I think we're going to be there with several countries in the next few weeks.
And Democrat Senator from Vermont, Bernie Sanders, made quite an appearance over the weekend, opening for a singer at Coachella, a music festival in California.
Please give it up for Senator Bernie Sanders!
Thank you. Thank you very much. I wanted to thank Claro for allowing me to get up here and this country faces some very difficult challenges. And the future of what happens to America is dependent upon your generation.
Nothing says fighting the decadent capitalist oligarchy like speaking before a music festival of upper-class individuals in California to the tune of tickets between $600 and $1,500 a pop. Before you go, head down to the description to make sure you're subscribed to the Tony Kinnett Cast and join us this evening where we'll be digging into a few of the rumors swirling around over the weekend, talking about RFK and what should qualify an individual for food stamps and whether or not Speaker Mike Johnson is actually going to rip Medicare and Medicaid away from the hard-working Americans of the United States. So we'll see how much of that is true and how much of that is overblown. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Tony Kinnett, and this has been the Daily Signal's Top News in 10. Take care.